It's not. Nothing's happening.
I think it's getting ready to go. There it goes. Hey, now.
It's about time.
We're live, Uncle Mosh.
I've been waiting.
You have been waiting. You've been waiting a long time.
I've been sitting over here all by myself
yourself.
in the lonesome.
Yeah.
I was going through my thoughts.
Yeah. There you go.
Yeah.
Herman Munster is in the chat. Roach, Uncle Torino is joining us already.
Everybody's here.
Thank you guys for joining us here in the chat.
Hey,
we're gonna get ready. Go ahead, Mosh.
No. He's back. He's back from his hiatus. Wilson.
Hiatus.
Wilson's
Yeah.
back.
Wilson. Wait. Gotta wait. Wait. Save that for the show, though, Mosh. We haven't even started the show yet.
I'm sorry.
We had Ron's in your King's on. Go ahead.
I'll go back to myself over
here. We got to. Yeah. Hey, Brian Ramos, what's up, man? Yeah, we'll give a lot of shout outs here. We haven't started the show yet officially. Got to hit the button. So just, of course, we got to wait for Ron, right? Ron is like the kickoff of the show. He says the Eagle has landed, so it's officially
nice
time for us to start. Oh, good thing we did. See, because I'm not recording. Now I'm recording the show. There you go.
Okay.
Now we can go. So here's welcome to another episode of Raiders Fan Radio.
Oakland, L.A., Oakland, Vegas, Raider Nation, wherever, forever. You got your old Uncle Mosh and Raiders Fan Radio from Murf's Man Cave, taking a lighter journey into the dark side. Sit back, put your feet up, pop a top, and enjoy the ride. Here we go!
Look left, look right, a leaking pass, touchdown!
We miss you, we love you, and we'll see you in the Hall of Fame.
When you have great coaches, then after you have great coaches, you get great players, you have a great organization, and you tell them one thing, just win, baby.
Way up the middle, intercepted Filipiano at the 50, time running down. Oakland football, and I think Oakland victory.
The Oakland Raiders have scored on the most seamless, unbelievable, absolutely impossible dream of a play.
Well, I love this team. I think this team can win.
All right, what is up, Raider Nation? Thank you for joining us here on another what we hope to be fantastic episode of Raiders Fan Radio. Your old buddy Murf back here again, once again in the fan cave, getting ready to talk a little bit about the Oakland Raiders. And, there's just nothing ever to talk about our team, especially when things are going so well. But we're back nonetheless, and that voice that you hear, that laugh that you hear, the famous laugh of the one and only Uncle Mosh. Uncle Mosh, welcome back to Raiders Fan Radio.
Well, that's good to be back. I'm so excited to be. Hey, what's happening, Murf?
Uncle Mosh, thank you for joining us here on Raiders Fan Radio, and also thank you to those of you in the chat room. If you're watching us on the YouTubes, we appreciate you guys jumping in here. I see Roach in there, Herman Munster, Uncle Torino, of course, Ron, Kings Only, Charles, Adam Hill, Raiders Smiley, all kinds of folks already jumping in and joining us here in the chat, Uncle Mosh. It's pretty cool, man. It's this YouTube thing is it's not necessarily new anymore. Now we've been doing it for a little bit, but it was like an unexpected surprise. It's a lot of fun, and we really enjoy the interaction.
Yeah. For a couple of guys who have faces made for radio, we're having a blast. We're having a blast, and the fact that we can do what we want with our podcast and still have fun with the YouTube, man, that rocks.
Absolutely. So thank you to those of you joining us. Appreciate you checking in with us. So before we get to top of the show, let's get the Raider news flowing. Uncle Mosh,
woo!
The coach's corner is hot. So Uncle Mosh, if you don't know, is a pretty much a lifetime coach and teacher and educator, and so he's on the inside on the. You got the inside info on the coach's corner there, Uncle Mosh.
I'm telling you.
And this is just fresh in from Coach John Gruden. Tell us a little bit about what literally just came across the wire.
What just came across a wire, as you called it. But no.
That's just in.
Yeah, what just came in.
Yankees win. The Brooklyn Bombers do it again.
So, Coach is under the gun, man. Coach is under the gun. And, there's a lot of folks that are giving him a lot of junk about pretty much about everything.
About everything.
Yeah. So he just like within the last 30 minutes let out a kind of a press release talking about the rookies. And he goes on and he says that that they're a huge
addressing the Raiders rookies right now.
Addressing the Raiders rookies, and he names a bunch of them by name, and he talks about where their positions are and how good they're doing, and that he says part of his release, we have a kicker, a punter, and a snapper that are all rookies. I think at the halfway point you make some key points to them with all the coaches in there, so you're all on the same page. Again, to reiterate, we've been catching a lot of flack because we're on the same page with Coach, and that people, you're Gruden drunk, blah 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 blah. But having faith in the guy is one thing. I like what he says, and I don't think that anybody's ever said that he's not willing to back up what he says. And he goes on to say, I want them to be a united group that's learning from the 1-7 start how hard this business really is and how painful it is on all of us. I want them to be part of the solution and the big picture. I'm going to say that again. The big picture. Not only this week, but for years to come. I dropped the Gruden mic. Seriously, what more could you ask from a coach? Yeah, Super Bowl.
Yeah. Not 1-7.
But you hired this guy for. We're going to talk about.
We're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about it. But that just came across.
Yeah, we had to say it.
I just had to say it. Had to share that with you guys. So that's it, man. So, anyways, good stuff there, Uncle Mosh. Appreciate that. Hot off the news desk.
Hot from the news desk.
All right. So here on Raiders Fan Radio, we do a lot of different stuff, and this week we got a lot to get to. This is gonna be a Gruden heavy episode. Look, it's kind of coming to a head a little bit from the criticism to the fans. Emotions are starting to boil over, good and bad. And so you think the election was allowed for some hot emotions. This Gruden stuff is next level as far as fandom and sports goes. So anyways, going to be a lot of Gruden stuff we're going to get to today. And when it comes to the Gruden criticism, I'll get into more of it later, but basically we're going to offer up a lot of different viewpoints, a lot of different information, and leave it to you to figure out for yourself. Yep. I mean, Uncle Mosh and I have our own opinions, but we don't necessarily expect you to agree with us just because we're the show. We're just going to be your voice. We're going to kind of take all this stuff, wrap it up, and then give it to you, and then you all decide what you're going to do with it.
That's right. So, we're making the salad. You pick out the cucumbers and the croutons and whatever you like.
The green peppers. Lord have mercy. Who puts green peppers on a salad? Ugh.
See, there it is. There it is.
All right. Then
what are you going to do, Murf? You're going to cross your arms and sit back and ignore me because I like green peppers?
I might. I control the camera shot here, sir. But and then so after the Gruden stuff, we're gonna dive in deep to the Sea of Fans mailbag. For those of you that are new to the show, you can call us anytime, 909-345-3346. That's 909-345-3346. That is the Raiders Fan Radio Hotline. It is live 24/7, 365 days a year. You can call that anytime and leave a message for me and Uncle Mosh. If we play your message 3 times on the show, we then refer to you as a made man. And there are a list now of made men. I think we got a dozen or so. I got the list here in a minute. We're going to talk about that later. And then there's kind of like the capos, right? Then there's like the made guys of the made guys, and right there are the guys that just
there's the guys that don't talk about it. You know what I mean?
You guys know who you are. And look, anybody can be that guy, but you got to bring it, man. All of our calls are great. We're very appreciative of all of them, and some of you just do it really, really well.
So speaking of that, I had a conversation with somebody between the two shows, and they asked us, why is your show so Sea of Fans mailbag heavy? Why is it so email heavy? Why do you pump subscribing on Android and Apple Podcasts and the YouTube and my response was, what is our name? Our name is Raider Fan Radio.
Yeah.
It's not Raider Concise Analysis Radio.
Yeah.
It's Raider Fan Radio. It's about you guys, So, and the person I was talking to went on to say, well, you guys are a little Pollyanna with it. And I said, no, we're Raider drunk. We're Raider fans, and we do this for the Raider fans. We may not always agree, but so that's the reason we do so much with the fan radio and the Sea of Fans mailbag and the emails and the stuff. Because if we didn't have you guys, it would be just you and me eating Cheetos watching,
Which we did that for many, many years.
For a long time, Yeah.
Yeah, so absolutely, Uncle Mosh. Thank you for saying that. It is. It's all about you guys, and it says it's Raiders Fan Radio, and we want to celebrate fandom. I'm a fan of fandom. Like, I just love fandom. I love the way that it manifests in different people, whether it's you guys like us that do a podcast, or some people write music like our buddies 4Dub, or, people paint pictures or make memes or whatever. There's a million different ways that you can express your fandom. And I love how people express, the cosplayers, our buddy Kevin the Raider Nerd, like people do all kinds of cool stuff with it. So anyways, we're a fan of fandom, and so we're a fan of you. So thank you for joining us here on Raiders Fan Radio. All right, so the Sea of Fans mailbag, and then Uncle Mosh, we are going to do a tailgating too much segment at the end.
By request, this one going out by request.
Going out to Wyoming. Yeah. So we have a fun segment called Tailgating Too Much, where we take a vocal track, we plug it into our software and slow it down, and then it's a perfectly coherent vocal track, but then when you slow it down, and it's not only slowed down, it's pitched down, and it makes it sound like that person's been drinking. And so Uncle Mosh and I have been in it. I mentioned Kevin the Raider Nerd. We've had a few of our folks, plus we've put Al Davis in there and John Gruden.
Sure, we've had fun with it.
So we have a fun one coming up for that. And then that's it. So thank you again for those of you that are in the chat. So you can listen to the show anytime on our YouTube channel, which is growing rapidly. And thank you. We've eclipsed the 1,000 subscriber mark.
So everyone knows I'm not the tech guy in this duo. Okay.
Well, though you did retweet us quicker than I did tonight.
Okay, because I follow one person, you.
Okay.
Okay. So we do what we do through subscriptions, right?
Yes.
And that's how we get to stay on, and that's how we spread the word and all that stuff. So it's important that people, if you like what we do, or even if you don't like us,
subscribe to us anyway.
And
then just tell us we suck.
And then as you're driving down the road, cuss us, because sometimes I'm cussing you. So if you got an Apple device like mine, get a grandson like your kids, and have them set up the podcast. So subscribe to us, and then the same thing on the Android. Go to the App Store. Go to
there's a Raiders Fan Radio app.
Raiders Fan Radio app, and download. Even if you listen to us off of our links, right?
Yeah.
Still, just go ahead and download it anyway, because that gives us that looks like we got more listeners.
Yeah. We like that. Yeah, that's a good thing.
And then the YouTube.
And then the YouTube. Then subscribe to us on YouTube. That's it. So, Apple Podcasts, hit us up there. Murf's Fan Cave across the board, and support us in what we do. This is our hobby. We just love to do this. But in order to keep our momentum, it's really important.
And we don't get any money.
No.
It's a hobby. It's like hunting.
We play.
It's like fishing.
We play.
Yeah, we play.
Yeah. And there's nothing wrong with people, getting paid for, with their Patreon and all that kind of stuff, monetizing. But that's not what we're doing. We just love the Raiders, and we love podcasts, and we want to come on here and play radio once a week.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, so anyway, so thank you to those of you that have already subscribed.
And we just went over 1,000.
Yeah, we just went over 1,000.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
We used to have tens of listeners. Now we're into our
at 1,000.
Second 1,000. We're into
Well, we're deeper than that if you count them all together.
Yeah. But just on the YouTube.
But just on the YouTube, we're heading into our second.
That's so cool, man.
Yep, pretty good stuff. All right, so let's get rolling here. So thank you to those of you again that have done all that. Uncle Mosh, you can give props to somebody. You can shout them out, right?
Yeah, but that's not the same.
We're Italian, right?
Yeah.
We're
No.
Sicilian.
No, man.
We give respect.
We give respect.
We give respect.
Absolutely.
So from now on, instead of shout-outs, we're going to give respect.
Give respect.
So there's a couple of guys I want to give some respect to this week. Number one is our buddy Emiliano, big Raider trucker. And the reason we want to give him respect this week is that you can see this shirt over Uncle Mosh's left shoulder. You're right if you're looking at the screen. The shirt says, "What happens in Vegas started in Oakland." Excuse me.
He sent us these shirts last week, and on the YouTube, if you were a subscriber, you would have gotten that reveal that we did. It was a silly little thing after work one day, and we had fun. He sent us these shirts that he made, and they're awesome, man. They are so cool.
Awesome. So cool. So what happened in Vegas started in Oakland was a tagline contest that we had on our show. And Emiliano had these shirts made up and sent them to us, and they're awesome. So I've actually talked to Emiliano. We've kicked around the idea of maybe putting some together to sell on our website.
Nice.
Because we're out of Raiders Fan Radio shirts. We sold out of those, and so there may be an opportunity for those of you that like that shirt to buy those. And so again, we're not doing it to make money. We just want to get that stuff out there to you because it's pretty cool. So also, I mentioned this last week, but I want to shout him. See, I almost did it again. Almost said shout out.
Give some respect.
We want to give some respect to Aaron, the Q-Dog Raider, who sent us today's wardrobe.
Yeah,
here on
absolutely.
the show. So I'm going to turn around in my chair if you can see it. But so these shirts, tell me what it is.
It says Defenders of the Silver and Black. And that's from the Dallas-Fort Worth and the San Antonio chapter. And he's wearing his. His is a black one.
Right, and you got the gray.
I got the gray, and I took off the Carhartt hat so that the shirt would match my hair.
Match your hair. It looks good. There you go. You and Pete Koch got the same hair.
We got the same hair.
You got the same hair. So thank you to Aaron, the Q-Dog Raider, for sending us the shirts. And then the last guy I want to give respect to, and this is going to come crazy, Raider Nation, to you. You guys remember who Scott Hansen is? When I say the name Scott Hansen, former Raider defensive backs coach, I'm going to watch the chat here. What do you guys think of when you hear the name Scott Hansen? Well, Scott Hansen is the one that got into an altercation with then head coach Tom Cable, who is now our offensive line coach. And not only did they get into an altercation, Scott Hansen got his jaw broke.
Yeah, it ended up in the courts, man.
And it ended up in courts, and it was a big deal. All right, we got linked up with Scott Hansen. And Scott Hansen, for those of you that don't know, kind of after that incident was no longer in the NFL, no longer in coaching, and kind of fought a little bit for a while to get his coaching jobs back. Never came to fruition, and he went silent.
Somebody said, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but somebody said to me the other day he got Kaepernicked. You know?
Oh, he kind of got blackballed a little bit. Absolutely,
They put the kibosh on him.
They absolutely did. And so he went silent for 10 years.
Wow.
10 years. And he's just recently reemerged.
Right.
He's getting ready to leave the country.
Tell him how. Tell him the story behind it.
Well, he got linked up with you on Facebook.
Right.
And then you sent him my way with his contact
right.
info. And we asked him if he would be willing to come on the podcast for an interview. And Uncle Mosh, I was expecting to get Scott on for like we usually do.
Sure,
like 20,
10, 15 minutes. Yeah,
20
minutes.
20 minutes, maybe something like that. This ended up being about a 2-hour interview.
Wow.
And so as we're doing the interview, I'm realizing, well, this is not going to be just like a thing part of the show. So originally I wanted to interview him and then include it as part of this show. There's so much in it, and it's so fascinating. Guys, this stuff, he's dropping truth bombs that are going to blow your mind. I'm not going to speak into we're going to, I'm going to hope that we're going to get a lot of attention for these stories because of Scott's stories. It's stuff that hasn't ever come out in the national media, and you're going to hear it here on Raiders Fan Radio.
And he even makes that claim to you during that, right? He talks about how this is the forum, and he picked us because this is the forum that he wanted to give his story on. He didn't want to go Sports Illustrated. He didn't want to go Dan Eisen. He didn't want to go ESPN. He didn't want to go Jim Rome. He wanted to go in a podcast, longer. No commercials, type situation. This is what he wanted, and he chose us.
He chose us. So he wants to do this long form, and I'm not kidding you, y'all. It's long. But it's fascinating. It's fascinating. It's so. Anyways, I'm not going to totally sell the lead. I'm just going to tell you this: you're going to, at the height of the Raiders' dysfunction, when it was Lane Kiffin, Jamarcus Russell, Al at the end of his days.
Yeah,
You name it. All that, Warren Sapp, all that. That's when Scott was there. Then this altercation with him and Tom Cable. Like, if you think
and that's
about,
part of the dysfunction they talk about.
Yes.
When they talk about the years of dysfunction, they talk about the fight with the coaches.
Yes.
This is coming from one of the guys that was.
This is it.
Yeah.
So you're going to hear all this stuff firsthand account. You're going to hear even a lot more than that. Things that he learned when he was part of the organization. Anyway, I want to talk about it anymore because I want to sell it, but expect to start seeing that this week. So if you follow the Murf's Fan Cave, you follow us on wherever, you'll see these things will show up in your feed. So subscribe to us.
And then automatic.
And it will automatically come in into your feed, just like you get this show, just like you get Mondays with Mikey and Murf. All that stuff will start. Those interviews will flow in. I'm going to do a 3-parter on this. We're going to do like 3 30-minute chunks that I'll roll out to you guys, like maybe once, I don't know, every few days or something.
So are we going to do? And we haven't figured out all the ins and outs of that, but we may do some lead into what we're going to talk about in that section, or whatever.
Oh yeah. We'll do a voiceover for sure. We'll get to all that. But anyways, yeah. So it's going to be crazy. It's you guys are going to love it. If you're a Raider fan and you remember those days and you remember what all that was like, it's gonna trip you out, man. It's going to be a fascinating listen. So we're excited to share that with you guys. All right. That, Uncle Mosh, I think brings us to this beginning of the show. We ready to kick this thing off?
Let's do it. Tell them how they can get a hold of us.
All right, boys and girls, pay attention. You got your old Uncle Mosh here with an update. That's right. I got some stuff for you. Take out a piece of paper, a pencil, a pen. Heck, use your pocket knife and carve the info into your dashboard as you're driving down the highway. First off, you need to like us on our fan page on Facebook. That's right. Go to Facebook at Raiders Fan Radio Podcast. Don't forget about the Twitter. You know your old Uncle Mosh, he twits now. That's right. Go to at Raiders Fan Radio. Also, don't forget the Instagram at Raiders Fan Radio. Or what about our website? That's right, RaidersFanRadio.com. Heck, if you want to, you can even email us, show at RaidersFanRadio.com, or call us on the Raiders Fan Radio hotline, 909-345-3346. That's 909-345-3346. Don't forget Murf's Fan Cave on the YouTube, where you can get all the show links, like the Fan Club Blitz with Splatterhead and Fitz. Find all our stuff on podcast providers like Stitcher, iTunes, and Google Play. All right, did I hit the time limit? Good.
All right, Uncle Mosh, it is episode 102 of Raiders Fan Radio. So thank you to those of you joining us once again. Appreciate the chat. Q-Dog, let me spit it out. Aaron, the Q-Dog Raider, just jumped in the chat.
Q-Dog.
Aaron, we just got done giving you respect, man. Thank you again for the shirts. Uncle Mosh and I are both wearing our Defenders of the Silver and Black shirts tonight. All right, so Uncle Mosh, so episode 102, we always like to refer our episode number to another number that is significant in Raider Nation. Most of the time it ended up being a player, but it can also be a year or other such significance to that number. So there's a few different things going on with 102.
Tell us.
All right. First off, Steve Sable was born on 10/2. Right? So
nice.
He was born on October 2nd. And for those of you that don't know, Steve Sable, his dad, Ed Sable, is the one that started NFL Films. Steve then ran NFL Films and really brought it into prominence. And he also wrote The Autumn Wind, famously narrated by John Facenda, but Steve Sable is the one that wrote it.
Love it.
And,
respect to that guy.
Absolutely. Big time. So Steve Sable, born on 10/2. All right. Also, Uncle Mosh, in 1970, defensive end Tony Klein was the 102nd pick in the draft.
No way.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty fun. So there's a 102 there. Also in 1975, a guy named Harold Hart. Wasn't even familiar with Harold, but in 1975, Harold Hart ran a kickoff back against the Dolphins for 102 yards. So pretty cool there. And then Uncle Mosh, in 1992, so Los Angeles Raiders, Eddie Anderson ran an interception back for 102 yards. This is the second longest play in team history, and at the time set the record for the longest play, for the longest touchdown returned. And you know who he picked off?
Who?
Dan Marino.
Oh.
Dan Marino, man. So check this out. This is pretty cool.
Last Monday night, the Raiders tried to keep their playoff hopes alive, but Miami's defense refused to play dead.
Back he goes to throw, goes for the sideline, intercepted by Brown. He's going to score. Down to the 10, 5, touchdown. Miami.
J.B. Brown's touchdown was impressive, but it was not the defensive highlight of the night.
Let me stop that real quick right there. That first one was an interception, right? That was Jay Schrader getting picked off by the Dolphins.
No way.
Yeah, the Jay Schrader, who your brother used to famously say, what do you call a blonde that screws a whole football team?
Jay Schrader.
Here we go.
After picking off Dan Marino in the end zone, the Raiders' Eddie Anderson tied for the second longest interception return in NFL history. A key block by Ronnie Lott on Mark Higgs cleared the way as Anderson raced 102 yards for the touchdown.
Nobody's going to catch him unless he runs out of gas. There's one man back. He goes on by him, and it is a Raider touchdown.
7 points were all the Raiders could score, however, and a 62-yard bomb by Dan Marino sealed their fate.
All right, we're going to cut it off there because the Raiders lose this game.
Hey, so real quick, where is that in the long? I know it. You said that it's the
second
longest in team history. Where is it in NFL history?
Well, I think there's a 109 out there.
Is there really?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure there's
interception.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure there's a 109.
Wow.
Yeah, and then I don't know. I have to pull the book out there, but I even want to say I know there's kickoff returns that are that long. Even if you think about like Deshaun Jackson, right, where he would fake and he wasn't bringing it out and they would come. So those are like 105s and stuff.
Yeah, I was talking about like for an INT though.
Yeah, I don't know. I only saw the one in team history, and I'm saving. It's the second longest play in team history because I'm saving the other one because we're going to get to that episode soon enough.
Yes, we are.
So I got to save that one. But we definitely want to celebrate Eddie Anderson here today on Raiders Fan Radio with a 102-yard interception return for a touchdown.
Hey, everybody. This is Johnny Spencer from the punk rock band Stringer, and you're listening to Raiders Fan Radio with Murf and Uncle Mosh. Go Raiders, baby.
You know, I'll be 60 next month. I love punk rock. And I love Stringer, man.
Stringer's great.
They got on the YouTube.
On the YouTube.
You can check out their video Ghosts.
Yeah, that's what that song is right there. Yep.
Amazing. Yeah, I played it for my students.
Did you?
Yeah. I got
cool.
these 14, 15-year-olds, and I'm like, let me show you this really cool thing. And they're like, okay, great. Can we watch Vines? And I'm like, no!
I appreciate Johnny there, man. He was a great guest. He was fun.
Yeah.
All right, Uncle Marshall, let's get into it. Let's dive in deep here. So there's been a lot of talk this week. For those of you that follow the feed and for those of you that follow what we do, you know I'm part of another show called Mondays with Mikey and Murf. And
are you?
Yeah. And Mike
still?
Yeah. And so Mikey and I, just be blunt about it, we don't see eye to eye at all in terms of John Gruden. And there are a lot of people on his channel that would refer to me as, let's see, I've heard bootlicker.
Wait. Murf the Smurf was my favorite.
Apologist, Raider drunk, blind. My favorite one was the one that said, if John Gruden hit a kid with his car, Murf would say that kid was in the way. Right? Like, so I get accused a lot of being an apologist. Now, so let me just say this on the front end. I am not, nor is Mosh, and Mosh and I think a lot alike on this stuff. We are not apologists. We're just willing to be patient. We're willing to wait longer than 8 months before we try to run this guy out of town. That's the difference, that we're just, instead of rallying against the dark, we're at least willing to turn up the light a little bit and try to seek understanding instead of just saying, that guy sucks. He needs to be fired. Well, because here's the thing, Raider Nation, about criticism. I said this a few shows ago. No matter what, at the end of every single football season, 31 teams' critics are proven right because only one team wins the Super Bowl. So just remember this. It's easy to criticize. It's really easy to say that team sucks. It's really easy to say Matthew Stafford sucks. Josh Rosen sucks. Whoever. You pick whatever team you want to criticize, you're going to be proven right because that team's not going to win the Super Bowl at the end of the year.
Right.
What's hard to do is to look at a situation, digest it, process it, critical think your way through it, and try to seek understanding of why things are happening. That doesn't make it always work out. It doesn't make those things always turn out the way you want it to. It doesn't make them right. It just means that we're willing to look deeper than to just say 1-7 sucks. So does our coach. So does the owner. The Raiders are broke. We need to just fire them all. That's the difference, okay?
Yeah.
So hopefully that brings some clarity to it. Go ahead,
And
Mark.
you're exactly right. And he just said it an hour ago. 1-7 start. How hard this business is and how painful it is for us all. I want them to be part of the solution and the big picture, not only this week, but for the years, 9 more after this one, boys and girls,
years to come. And now look, and I said all that too. That look, I'm not disparaging someone else's opinion. Mikey is fully, and Mikey is right a lot of the time. Mikey's an emotional guy. He gets fired up. And you know what? Mikey's right a lot.
Yeah,
he
is.
So this is not to say that, I'm not rallying against people that think that way. It's just we're offering a different form of opinion. Okay, so all that said, to prove to you all and to really kind of work through this exercise.
Because like we said, we are fan-based radio, so we are going to, because there's fans that are so loyal to us that it's crazy that they don't agree with us, and
Yes.
that's what we want. Debate is the highest form of education. That's if it's done properly and well, then it's the exchange of ideas, and that's what we do.
Absolutely. And we don't want you to always agree with us. You just got to be nice to each other. That's the only thing. Like, if you want to disagree in the chat and send us emails and we hear them and we read them and all that, that's fine. Just as long as we're nice to each other, that's all I care.
For sure.
That's all we care about. All right. So to walk through this, so there's been a few things. All right. I have a lot of respect for a lot of sports media, and then there's a lot of that I don't have respect for. Okay. And I think you could say that about a lot of different media outlets, but there are some that are very clickbaity, some that are just very hot take, generate a lot of attention, just kind of talk to talk. Skip Bayless is the ultimate one, right?
Mm-hmm.
He just talks to talk, okay? But then there are a lot of them that don't, okay? So some of my favorites, Dan Patrick and Rich Eisen.
Oh, absolutely.
Slam Dunk, both of those guys. You mentioned them earlier in the show. Those two shows are about as clear and level-headed as you can get, and because they don't need to be clickbaity. Jim Rome doesn't need to be clickbaity.
Nope.
Jim Rome can just be Jim Rome, and people are going to like him and listen. So we're going to talk about some stuff that went on Dan's show and on Rich's show, and then also I've rallied a lot against ESPN here recently. Okay, and the reason why is because they just come off with some really trash kind of takes. Just again, get this attention. Until Mosh last week on Monday Night Countdown with Randy Moss, of course, our best buddy Charles Woodson,
Yep.
Sam Ponder, and Matt Hasselbeck. Okay, they I thought had a very fair criticism / discussion about Gruden. So we're gonna start off by listening to that. I think.
Okay, so
Oh, no. What the heck happened here?
one of the things that we are going to do in this episode, unlike the episodes where you and Sonny said,
to play?
There it is. Sorry. Go ahead.
unlike the episodes when you and Sonny said, we're not going to talk about Vegas, and you did 14 straight weeks for 2.5 hours, we're gonna talk about Gruden this episode,
Yes.
and we're going to put it to bed.
Yes. Thank you. Yes.
know,
So
we're
we're
gonna-
going to expunge this from our system, just like we did with Khalil Mack.
Right.
Right. We addressed Khalil Mack. We gave our opinions on Khalil Mack. We wore it out for one episode,
Yep.
and then
Yeah.
that was it.
And
then
now
we moved on.
And we were asked, no, we are not ready yet to talk about Wilson's old partner.
No,
Not yet.
that guy.
That's gonna be a multi-episode thing.
Yeah, no.
So
F that guy, man.
So
No, absolutely.
let's
not. All right,
let's go with the easy ones. Let's go with
one.
Coach.
All right, here we go.
Do you think that they needed a full rebuild like it seems like they're getting?
Well, it is a total rebuild, and I think that rebuild started with the firing of Jack Del Rio. And I don't think at that time he needed to be fired. But then it continued with the trading of Khalil Mack, and now it's just continued to kind of snowball. You know, I've had people come across my Twitter the last couple of days and say, Charles, when you left the Raiders, you said that they had a nucleus on that team that they could build around. What happened? You know, after a tweet that I sent saying that it was a rebuild. Well, we brought in guys like Khalil Mack, Amari Cooper, Derek Carr, Gabe Jackson, Rodney Hudson. Like, I really, truly felt when I left that team that they had a nucleus there together that was going to, you know, take this team on into the future. So I don't think they needed a rebuild, but I think that Matt made a great point last week is that when you have a new head coach come in or you have a new GM come in, they want their people. You know, it's the old great line by Bill Parcells. He says, if you want me to do the cooking, at least let me buy the groceries. And I think this is exactly what John Gruden is doing is he wants his guys in there. It doesn't matter about who Reggie McKenzie brought in before he got there. He wants to be able to put his imprint on this team and take this team into the future. And so it is a complete rebuild. Whether he admits it or anybody else admits it, that's exactly what it is.
Is it reasonable to do that, Rex? Everybody wants their own guys. We get that. But with the talent that he was given, is it reasonable to do that? Or how much of that is ego getting in the way?
Well, I don't think it has to do with ego. I think, you know, Charles's point that there was a roster. They did win 12 games, you know, one year when they put all those pieces together with Penn and Hudson and all those guys, Reggie Nelson. I mean, a whole group of them. But now, guess what? They're the oldest team in the league. So you got to do something. And obviously, Khalil Mack, look, John Gruden's no dummy. He knows he's a tremendous player. But he got a lot of compensation. It could be a lot worse. You could rebuild the way the Giants are and getting 4th and 5th round picks. At least you got a whole slew of first round picks.
Right.
You know, you've got 2, or you'll have 3 first round picks next year. And you're going to have 2 the following year. So you can rebuild this thing easily. They hope it works out as well as the Eagles, you know, did when they ended up winning a Super Bowl after the Kelly thing, you know, trading all those guys. Thanks for LaShawn McCoy, by the way. But anyway, I'm just saying that right now, yes. And you know who's being evaluated? We said it last week. It's the players. So the coach is not going anywhere.
No. Right.
All right?
No.
And you know what, though? He's not just evaluating the players. He's evaluating the coaches as well. You can't bat 1,000 when you make your hire on your coaching staff. So believe me, there's no quitting this thing. They're not going to do it. He's going to see what he has. Who are these coaches that he wants with him moving forward also?
What do you think, Mosh?
Wow. I mean,
pretty good stuff. But we just heard that goes on for quite a while. We're gonna, in the interest of time, we're gonna cut it there. But you heard Charles Woodson. That was the main one we wanted to get to. So you hear from Charles Woodson, somebody, you know, legend in Raider Nation, and then from Rex, you hear from a coach. So what do you think?
Well, it's all stuff that we've said ad nauseum. Coaches want their own people. We've said it on this show. We've heard it on 100 different shows. Coaches want their own people, and yes,
what do you say then to, because here's what I hear back then, the pushback on that is, well, then why doesn't he just tell us? Why doesn't Gruden just tell us then that he's rebuilding? Why doesn't he just tell us what's going on? Why do we have to then wait and find out this way? What do you say to that?
Well, it's like when you are rebuilding a car or a house or anything, you go in and you start peeling away the old stuff, knowing that you're gonna have to make changes, but you don't know if half the foundation is bad or half the foundation is good until you get those floorboards up. So I'm saying that it's a process that he's going through.
Right.
This is a process.
I hear it. But do you think that he should have been more? And I'm playing devil's advocate because I agree, but this is the kind of stuff that I'm hearing. Do you think he should have told us different? Do you think he set a false expectation by making it sound like they were going to do everything they could to win a championship in Oakland before they left for Vegas, where clearly that's not what they're doing? So were we misled? Were we duped? Did he owe us to act or say anything different?
I don't think John Gruden's character is one that he's going to intentionally try to dupe anybody. When you have the contract that he has, when you have a 10-year, $100 million contract, you don't need to dupe people. You go in there and you do the best you can with what you got, and if what you got ain't doing it, you get rid of what you got and you get something else.
Right.
You know?
Well, I would say, you know, if I agree, and Mosh and I are on the same page. The only thing that chalk it up, Raider Nation. I'm going to be critical of John Gruden. I think that if anything, if he were to be sitting here in the fan cave and for me to say something different to him, I would encourage him to, I feel like he kind of leads a little bit more than before things come to fruition. I don't think that he expected Khalil Mack to not show up. I don't think he expected Amari Cooper's production to drop off. I don't think he expected, like, a lot of the things that have gone wrong. I don't think he accounted for those things going in, and probably wrote a couple of checks that he, with his mouth, that the hind end couldn't cash. And I think that's where Gruden gets himself into these situations and frankly opens himself up to be criticized because he kind of says these things prematurely, look, he's never going to be Bill Belichick, but that's why Belichick never says anything, because that way there's never anything to come back to him with. So where if I would say anything to John, it would be slow down a little bit on some of the statements on the front end. You know what I mean? That way
I hear what you're saying, and I totally agree with you, but I totally look at that in a completely 180-degree context.
Okay.
I look at that as a positive, not a negative.
Because he's so forthcoming?
Absolutely. I want a head coach that's going to come in that's Raider drunk. I want Mr. Pollyanna. I want the guy that's gonna Derek Carr said he tells me he loves me all the time right before he kicks my ass. I want that guy. I want that guy saying, I believe. How many players have said he's changed the culture of the locker room? We talked about, you did, when you talked about Scott Hansen and you talked about the dysfunction of the team. We're losing games. We're not dysfunctional. There's a whole big difference. I would take that because losing games can be changed. That can be fixed. The dysfunction can't be fixed. Dysfunction is with you, Right. And so I want the guy coming in saying all this stuff. Oh yeah, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that and I'm going to write these checks that my butt can't cash. But I want that guy doing that.
That's true.
I want him coming in,
true.
So I think on that interview, getting back to that real quick, a couple other good things we're saying. His coach is he's not going anywhere. Everybody keeps saying that he's not going anywhere. And then I love the part about he's evaluating coaches. In addition to evaluating players, he's evaluating coaches. So,
do you think Paul Guenther makes it to Vegas?
I don't know. I didn't think Paul Guenther was going to make it across the bay last week. I thought they were going to tell him, you need to stay in San Jose. We know a spot you can get right off the El Camino Real.
Enjoy Santa Clara, Paul.
Yeah. How's Stevens Creek Boulevard working for you?
All right. So let's go to another one here. So this is from Mike Holmgren, legendary coach / I wouldn't call him a legendary general manager, but it remains to be seen how that general managing career ultimately going to turn out. But certainly legendary coach, Super Bowl winning coach, the Green Bay Packers. Uncle Mosh is going to talk a little bit about the coaching legacy of Holmgren here in a minute. But first, let's listen to Holmgren. He visited the Raiders facility. He's got ties to Gruden, and Uncle Mosh will get to that. But first, let's hear what he has to say about John Gruden.
Do you remember when John's dad called you? You were with the 49ers to hire John Gruden?
Jim was a scout with the 49ers at the time, and he talked to me about not only John, but Jay and all his sons. He wanted them all hired. So, but yeah, I brought John in and interviewed John and a guy named Greg Knapp, who became a coach, is a coach in the league, coached in a long time, to be the first quality control coach in the NFL. And so I was smart enough in those days to pick the right one, and I got John.
Well, you then you'd have your success with the 49ers, winning 2 Super Bowls. Then you go to Green Bay, which was an incredible staff. When did you know, I want John Gruden, I want to take him with me to Green Bay?
I knew when John left San Francisco, because at the time he worked as the quality control coach for a year. I was the new coordinator. And I tried to talk the 49ers into hiring him full-time. It was kind of a seasonal job. No one had ever done that before, what he was doing. And so they said no. So then I helped get him a job with Paul Hackett, at the University of Pittsburgh. And but I knew if I ever got a chance to be a head coach, he would be one of the guys I'd phone first. And that's what happened. And Hackett been mad at me ever since.
All right, there you go, Uncle Mosh. So Holmgren talking a little bit about the lineage and the connection there with John Gruden. I'm going to float out. Here we go. Hot take. Ready? Where's the countdown ticker, right, for that we need here on the side? I think Mike Holmgren is a likely candidate to replace Reggie McKenzie. I don't think John Gruden is going to be the owner of these responsibilities of general manager forever. I think even at some point he recognizes, whether he admits it or not openly, that it's not necessarily his strong suit, but he just needs help. Even if he did want to be the GM, whatever, I don't think you still have to have people to help you evaluate talent. And look, if Reggie ends up not being the guy, and I'm still kind of on the fence with Reg, but if he proves not to be the guy, I think Holmgren could be. Why else would he just be showing up? Now, I know Gruden's got a lot of friends, and you're getting ready to talk about the connector tissue here, but I don't know. I think there's a good chance that we might see Mike Holmgren in silver and black. But tell us a little bit about the history here.
I agree with you. The pedigree is there. The pedigree is there. And there has been some, we're not going to talk about old Horseface, but he's been doing a great job with the other horse faces.
Yeah.
The Mile High horse faces.
Yeah.
So there's something to be said for that. And so Holmgren, it all goes back to Mr. Davis. Basically, Mr. Davis, Madden, Flores, Art Shell, Bill Walsh. And then of course,
as far as coaching trees go, and then under Walsh comes Holmgren. Under Holmgren comes Gruden. So why not return the favor? Absolutely.
And Gruden can then have that slice of the pie that goes back to Holmgren. He learned a lot from Holmgren. So why not have him there? Like you said, he's got a lot of friends. He's got a lot of people. I'm sure he's picking brains all over the United States all the time. And why not have him in his back pocket? So there's something to be said for that.
Yeah.
That, your call it a wish list, call it a, call it a foreseeing of the future. But it goes without saying the lineage is there. So
and I like the idea that Mikey and I talked a lot about, really the kind of and you and I have too, about the kind of the coaching and quarterback pairings, right? About how, whether it was Peyton and Dungy or it was
right.
You know what I mean? Montana and Walsh and let's see who else. Of course, obviously Stabler and Madden, right? Like
sure.
There's lots of them. Modern day, it's it's Peyton and Breeze, and it's Brady and Belichick. But Favre and Holmgren was a big one.
Favre and Holmgren, yes.
And so I think maybe Holmgren then, because Gruden never had that guy. He had Gannon, right? But it wasn't like and they were there for a few years together, but it wasn't like a year in, year out, long-term like relationship head coach quarterback like these others have been. And it certainly wasn't when he was in Tampa, when he was rotating quarterbacks constantly between Jeff Garcia and Brad Johnson and all these guys. So maybe Holmgren can provide some good mentoring there to Gruden on how to be that with Carr.
If he's not already.
Absolutely. All right, Mosh, let's go on to another one here. So another, another critical take, another guy that didn't necessarily line up with the way that we feel about Gruden and how it's going. And look, there's none more respected in the industry and sports talk than Dan Patrick.
I thought you were going to go to Rich Eisen first.
Oh, that's right. I'm sorry. Well,
the same
kind
thing.
of the same thing.
Same thing.
Kind of the same thing. I feel a lot about Rich the way that I do Dan. So let's go ahead and let's listen to what this is. Not only Rich Eisen, but this is Ray Ratto from NBC Sports Bay Area on the Rich Eisen Show.
Is there a plan? Was there a plan? What do you think Gruden thought and what has been wrought?
Well, on day one, I think he thought he was going to come in as a conquering hero. I think about 4 months in, he realized, no, this team's not close. And I think his coaching impatience got the better of him on Khalil Mack and got in the way of his general manager's hat. So he traded him when he didn't need to. And basically, I think at that point, every player on that team recognized that they were all going to be gone within a year or two at the most. And when that's how you go into a season where you know that your coach doesn't care whether you live or die, you're not going to give that, that extra 3% at the end of a lost game. He didn't come in thinking he was going to blow it up, but he got to blow it up pretty quickly. And the one thing he missed in all of that planning was that this was not a football problem. This was a cultural one because the team is leaving in 2 years.
All right, Uncle Mosh, very interesting takes there. And again, I'm playing all this stuff because it goes against typically how we feel about things. So I see people in the chat like talking, some like Ray Ratto, some don't. I don't typically care for Ray Ratto. That's why I'm playing him, because, I want to address the more difficult topics here than for us. So a couple things he said there. One is that, he didn't need to trade Khalil Mack. Well, it doesn't matter if it's Ray Ratto. It doesn't matter if it's TJ Houshmandzadeh. All these people that criticize Gruden on the Mack deal never say of the follow-up to that Mack signed that $90 million guaranteed and went to the Bears. They never acknowledge the fact that the Raiders would have had to have given him an exorbitant amount of money to keep him. That drives me crazy that they never address that. And then the other thing that he said, and and this is where I'll give him props, and that I do kind of agree with him, is that I think Gruden maybe bought himself a little bit, in that he said he felt like Gruden was going to arrive and be the, quote, conquering hero, to use his words. Gruden, I think, thought that he was going to arrive and everybody was going to rally up behind him just because he was John Gruden. And clearly that didn't happen. And again, I don't think that was what John expected. So I feel like he kind of might have got him out in front of himself a little bit there. So again, if to be critical of John, that would be something that I would probably buy into, that he could have handled that part of it different. But in terms of the Mack deal and what he did, absolutely not. I'm not with Ray on that at all because of, again, they never acknowledged the contract.
Hey, how'd Mack do last week?
Was he at 2 tackles in 3 games now?
2 tackles in 3 games, and he's got a bum ankle, right?
Yeah,
he's got a
like
bum
that.
leg.
Yeah, is that worth $90 million guaranteed?
Yeah, I don't know. Hey, so Ray Ratto, I think, I totally get what you're saying on that. What he said and you're right. He came in thinking he was going to be the conquering hero, and he was for a minute. He really was.
Yeah.
But folks have been jumping ship, and we'll talk about that later when we get to see fans. And they are jumping ship because you got to have somebody to blame when stuff's not going right. But I'll tell you what you can't blame is you can't blame what Ray did, and this is where I got to take exception to what he said. A coach doesn't care if you live or die. Not a chance. Has he even heard one of the players talk about the culture in the locker room? Has he heard one of these guys even say, man, this is a whole nother thing. Coach loves me. Coaches, the accolades and that they go on and on and on and on and on. But so for him to come out and say that Gruden doesn't care whether they live or die, I'm sorry, that offends me. And I don't mean but I mean, it offends me that the idiocy of what that statement is. Come on.
And that's why people don't like Ratto, and that's where Ratto goes off the rails a little bit on that. Like Tim Kawakami, now the Athletic, formerly San Jose Mercury News. There you go, Tim. There's a plug for you. That's why people typically don't line up with it. I never have, because it feels like when they make comments and write stories or make these appearances, they're kind of hit pieces. They're a little bit hit pieces. Yep. Okay. Yep. All right. So let's see. Let's go next up here. Let's hear from the king of them all, man. If not Jim Rome, it's Dan Patrick to me. I like Dan. I got more respect for him as a sportscaster than anybody. He calls his, studio the man cave. We call ours the fan cave. Yeah. You look around this thing, it's dressed up like the Dan Patrick Show for a reason. I mean, I love what they do. They are a radio show that is put on TV.
Yep.
What do we do? We're a podcast that's now put on YouTube. Like, you know what I mean? So I got more respect for him than anybody else in the business, but I don't agree with him. I don't agree with him on this one. I'm going to let you listen to it.
It's one thing to lose, and you lose in anonymity, but then all of a sudden you're propped up on Thursday night on Fox, and it's the Bay Area, and here we go, and you got a third-string quarterback. The Raiders are favored. Vegas goes, hey, let's change the line here. Raiders got to win this one, right? Garbage time came early in the Bay Area this year. The interesting part is how the NFL and Raider fans in particular reacted to this. Twitter was pretty rough with John Gruden and what's the plan here. I do think he has a plan. He was given 10 years, but he had to know that he was going to invite criticism. With that contract, he knew it. If you're moving on from Khalil Mack and that contract, Amari Cooper, and you can get a first-round pick, everything is geared towards getting to Vegas and hitting the reset button. That's what John's doing. You know, he wasn't going to spend the money on Khalil Mack, didn't think that the team was ready to compete. Okay, don't lie to us and say that, hey, Khalil Mack didn't want to be here, because Khalil Mack's approach was the same as Aaron Donald. It was two different approaches here with what the Rams are doing and what the Raiders are doing, because the Rams are all in it and the Raiders haven't been. Amari Cooper, ship him out, get another first-round draft pick. You got 3 first-round draft picks coming up because of these trades. Everything is geared towards getting to Vegas. I'm going to guess Mark Davis, the owner of the Raiders, said to John Gruden, you may not want to go to Oakland for a couple of years. You may want that fresh start with Vegas, but I want you to go to Oakland for these first couple of years. Got to bite the bullet here. If Mark Davis has that much insight into this, give me 2 years here, because on the other end, you're going to get 8 years in Vegas. And we're going to change things. We're the Vegas Raiders. It's going to be different. We're going to be a young team, fresh, probably have a young quarterback there, not Derek Carr, and you can build this team in your image of what you think is going to be successful here. But John's getting his lunch handed to him. But he can't be reacting. Give the game plan then. If you don't want to be criticized, then at least say, hey, this is what we're doing. I hope everybody understands this. I'm sorry, Oakland, I'm not going to give you a good product for the last 2 years that we're in this great city. Sorry, we're going to wait and get really good when we get to Vegas. But, you know, there'll be some nice deals on flights to get there, or you can drive there if you want to. But it feels like that's what the game plan has been all along here. Yeah, he didn't want to criticize his team last night, that they didn't quit, and they didn't play. I mean, I'd rather that he said they quit. Then at least there's an explanation. I get that there's a plan here. Whether John Gruden can orchestrate this plan and, you know, see it to fruition, that's the big question I have. But I do get what he's doing, and I don't think Derek Carr is going to be his quarterback by the time he gets to Vegas. You know, beast mode will no longer be there. I mean, it's going to be a completely different roster there, and they'll probably be the youngest team in the NFL. When you give somebody 10 years, it's a whole lot of freedom there and a whole lot of money. And if you're John Gruden, you got time. But you're going to take the slings and arrows here unless you start letting people in on what is going on. Just give me the game plan. And you're going to have to change an entire attitude here, because that looked like a losing attitude last night. You know, when you say somebody quits, it's probably the worst thing you can say about an athlete is you quit. They just don't look inspired. Who would have thought that John Gruden is not going to have a team at least look inspired?
Wow. I mean, so heavy. I mean, Dan's taking some shots, and I think that they're fair. And this is where, you know, again, just because you don't agree with us, Raider Nation, that's fine. And I'm not expecting everybody to be Dan Patrick, because obviously he's a brilliant orator. But I mean, that's the kind of take where, all right, you can take a shot at John, but it's a well thought out take. Now, a couple responses to that. He said the Aaron Donald situation plays out and the Rams were successful at handling it. Why didn't the Raiders do the same thing with Khalil Mack? Well, they couldn't. And that's where, again, we're kind of selectively leaving out some details there. Their quarterback cost them $1 million a year, or whatever the rookie contract of Jared Goff is. The Raiders have a $25 million man in Derek Carr. They couldn't do the same thing for Mack.
It's apples and oranges, Josh.
It is. It's not the same. So I don't agree with Dan on that. Where I do agree with him on is that the freedom. Now, look, and this is something that's different, and it's harder for us as fans because we have been conditioned to the win now atmosphere of today's NFL. That when we see a new coaching staff, when we see a new regime come in, we're expecting them to win immediately, at least within the first year or two. That's not what the Raiders have here. Dan mentioned the freedom of a 10-year contract. So what's going to happen is that Gruden is going to treat it as such. He's not going to adjust a scheme to fit the roster he has. He's going to develop a scheme and then just acquire talent over a long period of time until it finally the pieces fit together and it works. So that's the way that we're going to see this thing play out, and it's not going to happen within a year or two. So a lot of what Dan had to say, it's fair. I think some of the things he misses, and then the last thing, I'm going to get to it after Uncle Mosh, but the Raiders haven't quit. Anybody that's giving you that narrative, Raider Nation, don't buy it. The Raiders have not quit on their coach. They haven't quit on their team. They're just as competitive, just as fiery as they have been or should be. What's happening is that there is a coaching issue, but it's not a head coaching issue. It's a coordinator type issue, and we're going to get to another very good person to help us detail and illustrate that. But before we get to that, Uncle Mosh, what do you got about DP there?
Well, I love DP. I love what he says. I take issue with a couple of the phraseology things that he used. I think the fact that he claims that Coach lied to us, I think that's a bit harsh. I don't think I'm ready to jump on that boat. He said it no less than 3 or 4 times, give us the game plan. Well, you know what? People don't give game plans. They don't. The police don't say, "Hey, we're going to serve a search warrant tomorrow.
Yeah.
Make sure you flush everything."
Yeah.
You know. And then the other thing he said is, why would he come out and alienate Oakland? You know, why not? DP said, why not just tell us that you're just going through the motions for the next 2 years before you get to Vegas, and do what? And alienate the entire Oakland fan base? Yeah, that's smart. Nah, man.
Yeah,
and DP is a whole lot smarter than I am on a whole lot of things, but I think he missed the boat on that. I don't think that would have been the right thing to do. You know, and he's claiming that Gruden has this subtext, you know, that he's just going through the motions for 2 years. I don't see it. I think he would love to win in Oakland. He would love – come on. He's a professional coach. He would love to win for the next 2 years.
Right.
But, you know, if it's
he's not tanking. Like, it's that whole idea is silly.
And that was what he was almost inferring. And, you know, I'm not buying that. Yes, there's a lot of things that he said. Hey, we as fans, we as the people that are paying the bills want to know what's going on. But, you know, we're also paying you that money to come up with a plan. And if you're not going to show it to us, that's okay.
That's okay. You're not gonna tell the in a military exercise, you're not gonna go, hey, we're gonna bomb you next Tuesday.
Next Tuesday.
So you're just gonna go bombing them. So look, again, I think a lot of it is fair, but to address the quote quitting issue, I'd like to jump all over that. Okay, and there was do you have the tweet from Jerry McDonald, Mosh, that came out? Do you have that there? Let's see.
The Jerry McDonald one.
Okay, so address.
Yes.
Okay, so this is in response to media members insinuating that the Raiders players have quit on the team or quit on the staff. So this is coming from Jerry McDonald, highly respected beat writer for the Raiders for a million years. And Uncle Mosh, what did he have to say?
He says, something I try to keep in mind, and it's not always easy, when assessing effort on the field. Never met a media member yet who has conceded to mailing it in on their job. But so many are quick to assume a player or players at the top of their profession has quit on their team. Give me a break.
So there you go. So Jerry's basically, he's saying that, people are all quick to say they're quitting, but they wouldn't do it themselves. You're just going to quit because things aren't going right at your job.
Right.
So you're just going to you're just going to lay out like, oh, I don't like my boss, or I'm not happy with the way that our company is performing right now. So you're just going to quit on the whole thing.
Hey, you know what? That'll get you, though. A pink slip.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that'll get you fired, Bruce Irvin.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I'm saying? So these media members that tell you this stuff, again, don't just look at the big picture, Raider Nation. There is a lot out there to consume, and we hope that we're bringing some clarity to it by bringing you all these stories and things. And just remember, just process all of it. And so here's another one, okay? So Brian Baldinger, who is one of the lead analysts on NFL Network in terms of breaking down film, he is fantastic. He does it on Twitter. He calls them Baldy's breakdowns, and you just look for Brian Baldinger, right? Former player. He's one of the champs as far as breaking down tape. There's a handful of guys that do it very, very well on social media, and he's one of them. And I'm going to play you some audio from one of them. Now, obviously you're not going to be able to see the film but listen to what he's saying here. Listen to how he's discussing what the players are doing. Now, the untrained eye, some of these analysts will tell you that the Raiders quit. The Raiders didn't quit. The Raiders didn't know what they were doing, okay? So listen to what Baldy has to say.
Watch some of the throws that Nick Mullins made last night. First touchdown pass off, I formation bootleg with Pierre Garçon here running the over route. And nobody from the Raiders covers him. It looked like a Friday afternoon walkthrough. All right, so Pierre Garçon gets an easy touchdown. Now, let's watch this over the middle off play action. Pierre Garçon, they don't cover anybody on this play action. The middle of the field will be wide open. Nick Mullins turns around. He's got two receivers wide open in the middle of the field. Pierre Garçon will take this one for 25 yards. Nobody covering him. All right? Let's take a look at the touchdown. Kendrick Bourne, touchdown number 2, comes in motion. The Twins formation reveals either zone or man coverage. When the man goes with them, it looks like man coverage. Except the corner here is playing this leverage, giving him the inside. But there's nobody inside to help him. So the Raiders screw up, and Nick Mullins makes the easy throw to Kendrick Bourne. All right, that's the Raiders doing. Let's watch Richie James go in motion here. Come on, Rich, come on in motion here. He's going to come over to a twin set, 2x1 set right here. Now, here we go. Middle of the field will be wide open for Nick Mullins. There it is. Quick slant. This is Jerry Rice days. Let's throw the quick slant. Let's throw a 5-yard pass and let him run for 48 yards. Nobody in the middle of the field. All right, let's do it here. Let's watch this throw right here to George Kittle. George Kittle leads all tight ends, averaging 17 yards a catch. He's coming into your picture. 17 yards a catch. He blows every tight end in the league away. Now, once that one-handed catch in the middle of that 4-man zone gets, that guy can scoot. 71 yards later. 17 yards a catch. Let's watch George Kittle here. Play action. George. Count it. All right, here we go. Ready? 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi. Now go, George. All alone.
And now for something completely different.
You know why I hate George Kittle?
Why do you hate George Kittle?
Because he can never stop spelling his name.
Why?
George. It just goes on and on and on. Who names their kids George? I hate that guy.
Oh my gosh,
that guy's killing me.
He's killing it. George Kittle was killing us. He's killing a lot of teams this year. And you know, Uncle Mosh, how many times during Baldy's breakdown there did we hear him say no one was covering?
No one was covering. You and I sat there, and we don't have near the eloquence or the equipment that he does. But we were pulling our hair out, going, "You double team Garçon. You don't just let him fly.
Let him run." Yeah,
come on.
So Aaron, the Q-Dog Raiders buddy Reggie Nelson let him loose a couple of times.
Oh.
But it didn't. The point of that breakdown was that it didn't matter who it was. These players were literally uncovered repeatedly. Now, is that Gruden's fault? In a roundabout way, yes. Is it because the players quit? No. It's because they didn't know what they were doing. So is that a Paul Gunther thing? Is that what is it? Where is the disconnect for the defense? That's what we got to find out. So let's, instead of saying John Gruden sucks, the players have quit on him. No, they haven't. They just don't know what the heck they're doing, and let's figure it out why they don't. right? That's what's going on inside the walls of Alameda. That's what they're trying to figure out today. When you see John Gruden look at Paul Gunther on the sideline and slap him with the playbook and give him what's going on, Paul? That's why. That has nothing to do with quit or fight or any of that. That 100% has to do with somebody's not communicating, somebody doesn't understand the playbook, somebody does whatever it is.
Yeah, where's your guys? Where's your
where's
guys?
your guys? So DP, that's not quitting on the team. That's not understanding what your assignments are.
Hey,
All right.
You know what? Raiders center Rodney Hudson did not allow a pressure in 34 pass block snaps in Week 9. And he's allowed 0 pressures in 7 of 8 games this season. Hudson's 80.5 overall grade ranks second among centers, and his 89.1 pass blocking grade ranks first. You know what? That's positive, man.
That's good stuff.
That's Raider drunk right there. You know what? That's respect.
Absolutely.
That's respect.
Thank you for
Rodney
cleansing
Hudson.
the palate right there,
I'm
Uncle
serious,
Mosh.
man.
You know, Mikey and I, we talked about who kind of our midseason MVPs are. That's who I chose. Rodney Hudson, nobody puts centers on superstars lists. Everybody puts, of course, obviously the big time players, right? The Tom Brady's and Antonio Browns and Saquon Barkley, whoever else you want to pick. No one ever puts the center on the list of superstars. If they did, that's the guy. Like, Rodney Hudson is our superstar.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He is the best player on our football team.
I love it.
He's amazing. So thank you.
Hey, one more.
Yeah, please give us another positive stat, Uncle Mosh.
If we win out, it's a numbers thing. I got to do it.
Wait, your Raiders drunk over there.
Oh,
Mosh.
man. Yeah, babe. Yeah, babe. And I'm not going to tell you what I drink in there.
So let that sink in. Let that settle, Raider Nation. If we win out.
All right. According to the New York Times calculator. Now, why that's any different than the calculator on my phone, I don't know. Because they know how to use it and I don't. Do you know that the Raiders have an 84% chance of making the playoffs?
That sounds pretty good,
That's
man.
awesome.
Yeah, I'll take an 8 and 10 shot.
Yeah.
Heck yeah, man.
84% chance of making the playoffs if we win out.
So basically what you're saying, Uncle Mosh, is that there's an 84% chance that we can make the playoffs.
Yes.
I'm telling you, Raider Nation, there's a lot to be excited about.
I'm telling you, I'm fired up about it.
Raiders Fan Positivity Radio.
You want one more?
Okay, let's do one. What the heck? Let's do one more before we get to the last.
You want the new soundbite first?
Sure.
And now for something completely different.
When the Cowboys lost the other night,
Go Titans, man. Kevin Byard, MTSU, represent right here.
Absolutely.
Wait, hold on.
Okay, get the shot. Yeah, man.
Hey, get ready. Get used to that. And you University of Kentucky fans like Q-Dog Raider, MTSU, the Blue Raiders are coming, buddy.
Yeah, man.
All right, go ahead, Uncle Bob.
So with the Cowboys lost the other night, their first-round pick is headed to the Raiders, has moved up to number 10. Oakland's own pick is number 2 right now.
How about that? 2 top 10 picks coming out of this thing.
The Bears would be in playoffs if the season ended today, so that pick would be after number 21.
Ooh.
Yeah, that's good stuff.
So we're big Vikings fans, Packers fans, and, well, the Lions are going to be the Lions. But we want the Packers and the Vikings to beat the snot out of the Bears.
Always have.
Always have. Absolutely. Good stuff, Mosh. Thank you for that, cleanse of the palate. All right, so so one last Gruden thing here, and this is fun. There's been a meme going on that's been out there that is John Gruden as Thanos. So Thanos from the Avengers Infinity War movie. If you haven't seen that movie, spoilers, okay? Turn the Raiders Fan Radio off now. It's been out there long enough.
No, don't say that. We need the numbers.
Yeah. No, we've already got them. If they made it this far, we've already got. So spoiler alert here, okay? Thanos kills half of humanity, okay, at a snap of his fingers. And so the meme with this Infinity Gauntlet, so the meme is Thanos with his Infinity Gauntlet. I got one sitting over there behind Uncle Mosh, actually. With his Infinity Gauntlet, snaps his fingers, and half of humanity is then erased. So the picture is of John Gruden, right, on Thanos' body, and instead of Infinity Stones in his gauntlet, they're draft picks, right? So it's pretty funny. So hearing that, and then now with Bruce Irvin finding his way out of town to Atlanta, now I hear that he's a Falcon. So that meme has gone around a lot, and it made me. It kind of inspired a bit. We love our movies, right?
Yeah. I love movies.
Our movie quotes, and so Uncle Mosh. So I've got a little exercise for you here. Okay.
Wait, I don't exercise. Remember the appendicitis?
Mental exercise. Okay.
Oh, I can do that one.
Okay. All right. So I've got some quotes here, and I've downloaded we went deep into the Raiders Fan Radio archives, and I've got some quotes here that is either Thanos or it's Coach John Gruden. Okay.
And I know both their voices.
Yes. So I'm going to play the quote, and then you tell me whether it's Thanos or it's John Gruden. You ready?
No brainer, man. This is easy.
All right, here we go. Here's number one.
I know what it's like to lose. Feel so desperately that you're right, yet to fail nonetheless.
All right, Mosh, what do you think? Is that John Gruden or is that Thanos?
No brainer. What's our record?
1-7.
Gruden.
That's John Gruden. That's correct. That's exactly right. John Gruden. All right. All right, next up, Uncle Mosh, is this Thanos or John Gruden?
If I ask you to what end? Dread it, run from it, destiny arrives all the same. And now it's here. Or should I say, I am.
Destiny is here, or now should I say I am?
This goes directly back to Dan Patrick.
Yes.
Yeah, he's talking about not giving what Dan wants. Tell us the truth. Tell us the play. That was Gruden.
That was John. That's correct. That's exactly right. Yes, that is John Gruden. All right, so here we go. Here we go. Quote number 3. You ready? This one's going to be a little tougher.
Okay.
Okay. All right, here we go.
Let me turn you up.
I ignored my destiny once. I cannot do that again. Even for you.
If you would have kept playing that, he would have talked about Mr. Davis.
That's exactly right.
He kept going on, and he would talk about Mr. Davis, and he was talking about coming back with little Davis. So was Coach Gruden.
That's it. That's exactly right. That's exactly right. Good job, Uncle Mosh. There you go.
3 for 3.
3 for 3. All right, and one last one here. Let's see if you can finish off strong here. Okay, here we go.
Reality is often disappointing. That is, it was. Now, reality can be whatever I want.
Reality can be whatever I want. I'll think about it. Give this one a minute. Are you got it?
There was a scene similar to that in the movie, but just a little bit different. And that's talking about the reality of taking over, what he had, a dysfunctional group of guys that just didn't know how to play. And that, once again, Coach Gruden.
That's correct. Coach John Gruden. Good job, Uncle Mosh. You went 4 for 4.
Yes.
Hey, this is Pete Koch, former Los Angeles Raider. Yeah, back in the old days, baby. And you're listening to Murf and Uncle Mosh, who happens to have the same hair as me. Check it out, Raiders Fan Radio.
All right, here we go. Back in the fan cave for Raiders Fan Radio, getting ready to dive into the sea of fans mailbag. But real quick before we do, thank you to all of you that are joining us here in the chat for the YouTube live stream. I can't scroll up, but some recent names there. I see Tony, Aaron Q-Dog Raider, Raider Smiley, Ron, of course, North Star, Adam Hill, let's see, Raider Critique, Raider Jobo. Thank you guys so much for joining us here for Raiders Fan Radio. And Uncle Mosh, Aaron the Q-Dog Raider always has the great lines, man. He said, not only are you Thanos' drama teacher, but you taught him jazz hands.
Thanks, Q-Dog.
All right, so Mosh, So here in Raiders Fan Radio, we highlight the Sea of Fans and the mailbag, and we're going to listen to a lot of your voicemails, and we even got a couple of emails. And, we get a lot of great takes. And takes are often referred to as hot takes.
Hot take.
And if something is a hot take, it could be sizzling, right?
Ooh, nice segue.
It could be a sizzler, right? So there is a famous Marshawn Lynch quote where he was in high school,
right?
And they were interviewed him afterwards, and he was rhapsodizing about the play of his offensive line. So let me play this for you real quick. And this is Marshawn getting interviewed after, I believe it was a high school championship game, and this is what Marshawn had to say about his linemen.
Our linemen, oh my God! If my lineman wasn't so good, oh my God, I don't know what to do. And me being as broke as I am, I'm about to find a way to treat my lineman to sizzling.
So he's going to treat his lineman to Sizzler. Now, Sizzler, that's a West Coast steakhouse kind of thing, right? And so I was thinking, well, hot takes are Sizzlers too.
Sure.
So from here out, when we do the Sea of Fans mailbag, we are going to, Mosh is going to pick one of you as the Sizzler of the Sea of Fans for that day. And then we're going to drop this on you.
Sizzler. Sizzler.
Sizzler.
Sizzler.
Sizzler.
Sizzler.
There you go, the Sizzler. So one of you, Uncle Mosh is going to pick one of your calls to be the Sizzler.
I just wanted to mention the ones that say, people calling in all the time. They go, Murf, Mosh, hey Murf, hey Mosh. The ones that are going to get picked are the ones that go, Mosh, and that other guy.
little Murf, yeah.
That little Murf. I'll get Wilson on him.
Oh, my God. All right, so here we go. Sea Fans mailbag.
There he is, baiting, looking. He's under the gun. He's tied, he's thrown. It is.
Uncle Mosh, this just in.
Hit me.
Our buddy Raider Jeff, who is North Star in the chat, buddy Raider Jeff, famously of DeadPirateSports.com.
Right.
Okay, proprietor, owner of Dead Pirate Sports.
Sure.
Has just said, if you see this, give away a $25 gift card to Dead Pirate for the Sizzler.
Nice.
So whoever gets the Sizzler award tonight, hit us back up, send me a message here, and we'll send you a $25 gift card to Dead Pirate Sports. So thank you to Jeff, Dead Pirate Sports. You are the man, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Do you want them to send you your contact info?
We'll catch up with them, get an email, and I'll send you because it usually comes in a code. So it's not a physical gift card; it's a code that you can give at DeadPirateSports.com, and you can use the promo code RFR10 and get 10% off of whatever it is that you buy.
Yes, awesome.
So I'm telling you, man. So awesome! Thank you so much to Raider Jeff. So definitely support DeadPirateSports.com. You are the man, Jeff. All right, first caller is new friend of the show, Houston Raider Steve.
This is Houston Raider Steve. Hey, I was just going to say, Murph, I've been at 2 Battles of the Bay. 2010, my first time out to the Bay Area, my 50th birthday. A lot of people seem to go out there on their 50th for a game outside of California. And then I was at the last one when we won with Khalil Mack back in, 2014. It was great to beat him there. But anyway, thanks again for making me a made man. Enjoy the show. Go Raiders. Gotta love the outfits you guys are wearing for the thing in the background. Perfect Halloween thing. Yes, Dias de los Muertos, Day of the Dead, November 1st. We're going to be back. I don't know when, but we'll be back sometime, as we say, baby. Thanks again for making me a made man. This is awesome. Great show. Take care. God bless. You all are my brothers and sisters in Christ.
Amen, brother. Absolutely. Thank you, Steve, for the phone call. And, talking a little bit. Uncle Mosh, you and I watched that game together, Thursday Night Football. We did our show, right? And we let up, and then we got done. We were all fired up, man. Just got done with our show, and then sat down to watch that game. That was rough, man. That was the roughest watch in a long time, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was rough. So many of the criticisms that I wish we could record things when we don't think about it when we're watching football. because we're like, but so many of these guys, these pros that we feature on here, their takes, we say the exact same things. I'm sure everybody does.
Everybody,
everybody's
like
going.
we'll say something to one another, and then the analyst on the TV will say
and I'm like,
something,
how much money does he get for doing that? And I just said it with a mouthful of Cheetos.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so great call, Steve. Thank you very much. Appreciate you, man, and appreciate your support of Raiders Fan Radio. Uncle Mosh, you got an email there? You want to do that now?
I do. This is from Ben.
Sure, okay.
So Ben says, "Thanks for keeping things bright when things look dark." Oh man. That might have been a nice moniker.
That's a pretty good one right there.
Yeah.
Well, and what else do you do in a cave, right?
That's
How
right.
about that, right?
Yeah. Raiders Fan Radio, keeping things bright when things look dark. We don't always want them to look dark, though, but that would be good for about now.
Yeah, that's good.
So he goes on to say he loves listening to the upbeat, different perspectives when things aren't going well. I've been a Raider fan since 1969 and have seen the good and the bad. And I'd like to tell the soft fans, man up. This is a tough time, so if you can't be tough enough to deal with it, walk the plank. We don't need you anyway. Wow, he gets harsh.
Yeah.
He goes on to say, remember, when you want to come back on board, when the ship gets righted, you can stay in the water as chum. And that's it. And then he goes, thanks, boys. Keep up the great work. Florida Raider forever.
Awesome, man.
Wow, Ben, he's just no holds barred. Ben's bringing it and saying, hey, get with the program or get gone, chum.
I love it that a guy from Florida does all the pirate references.
That's
perfect. That's perfect. I hope he lives in the Keys or something. That'd be really cool. Anyways, thank you for the email there.
Sure.
And listen, you can always email the show. It's show@RaidersFanRadio.com. And just real quick, while we're on the topic, if you want to get us a message, the Sea of Fans mailbag, the 909-345-3346, and that email, show@RaidersFanRadio.com. Those two things will for sure always get to us. Now, we get Facebook messages and we get Twitter messages and we get lots of Instagram and we get a lot of messages, and I try to keep up with them all and I try to respond to them all. So if I've ever missed you, it's not because we don't like you. It's just because I've missed it. We're so scattered as far as social media. There's so much all over the place that it's tougher for us to keep up. But for sure, I always get the emails and we always get your voicemails. So if you want to contact the show and be part of Raiders Fan Radio, then definitely hit us up there. All right, next up, let's hear from another made man, Diego in Georgia.
Hey, what's up? What's up, guys? It is Diego calling from Georgia. Man, that game, dude, like, seriously. It's like, it's just pathetic. It's completely pathetic. I seen Kelechi Osemele laughing on the sideline after he got a penalty. That was pretty pathetic. National television against your protege, and again, John Gruden balls up, curls up into a little ball, and just gets his ass handed to him. It's just I don't get it, man. I just don't understand. I mean, if you're tanking, okay, cool, but I mean, gotta show something, man. Like, come on. And the defense is just trash. I mean, you might as well just put nobody out there. The offense looked like it was gonna get something started at the first drive, field goal, and that was it. Showed up to Santa Clara just to kick a field goal. Awesome. And it makes me think. It really pisses me off because it makes me think about, when John Gruden was first introduced, and you got this, very elaborate introduction and all these Hall of Famers there and stuff, and it's like, for what, man? For what? To have a crappy season? To be the laughing stock yet again of the NFL? I mean, but hey, what's different, right? I support the team, but one thing I will not support, and I don't care what fans tell me or whatever, I'm not going to spend my money throwing money at this team. I mean, I've probably spent thousands of dollars on this team already, and monetarily, I'm not supporting them. Will I watch it? Yeah, I'll watch it. but I'm not throwing money at this team no more, man. I got jerseys from people that ain't even on the team no more. It's annoying, but it is what it is. I just, it just sucks. But you guys doing a great job, keeping content, because it's hard in these times, man. So I appreciate you guys. All right, I'm out.
All right, thank you, Diego in Georgia. Yeah, we're gonna keep the shows coming. Even in the off season, man. This is what we do. We keep them coming. And of course, our content focus shifts a little bit during the season. We do more interviews. We do more. I don't know, like we'll do the black hole of the internet, and we do all that kind of stuff for it, kind of in the off season. But yeah, during the season, there's we're gonna still keep the shows coming, of course. And I would say this, Diego, is that I'm with him on, like, there was a lot of pomp and circumstance and celebrating and pageantry and all the stuff that came in with Gruden, and we all rode on in with it. I mean, like, we all celebrated it and loved it too. And then, so I get it. Like, it was so the performance is jarring. It's like you had this grand celebration, and then all of a sudden you get 1-7, and it's just like, you know what I mean? It's like, it's kind of jarring. You're like, whoa, wait a minute, what happened? Like, I thought this was going to be great. That's why if I could offer any words of advice or encouragement to you, it would be this. That's why I'm cautious with where I place my fandom. Like, we celebrate the past, not because we, choose to live in it per se, but there have been a lot of great things that have happened with this football team. And so we like to look at those kinds of things. I love the imagery of the Oakland Raiders. I love Raider Nation. I love the people that make up Raider Nation. Again, I said at the top of the show, I'm a fan of fandom. That's where I place my fandom. You and I hang out, do a podcast together about the Oakland Raiders, and have fun and hang out and watch games. And you know what? If the Raiders lose 38-3 or they win 38-3, it hasn't changed the dynamic between us and what we get to experience around the team. So for those of you that are grilling out, cooking out with your family, you're going to tailgates, or whatever, those experiences don't change based on the performance of the team. So if I can give you anything, man, lock into that a little bit. And that's where, because I mean, that's what saves me, right? Is that, like, I look forward to, like, well, we're sitting there on the couch watching a terrible football game, looking at each other going, well, I know what we're going to talk about on Wednesday, right? You know what I mean? So, like, I mean, that part of it doesn't change, because that you can control. You can't control who coaches. You can't control who plays. You can't control who owns. You can't control the outcomes of the game, but you can control your own environment and what you choose to do with your fandom. And if you place it and, like, at least divest it in some other areas, it will keep you from just getting your brains beat in every Sunday.
And Diego says, I got a lot of jerseys from guys that aren't there anymore. Well, I got pictures. I got boxes and boxes and boxes of pictures from going back over my 60 years, of stuff that I can go, oh yeah, that's back when I was skinny. Oh yeah, that's back when I was married to that woman. That's back when when I was living in that state, that had an orange football team. That's back when but that doesn't diminish who I am. I'm saying sport those jerseys, Diego.
Yeah, man.
Sport them, man. And you know what? You're in Georgia. Give me a shout sometime. I'm always in the mood for a road trip.
There you go. Not far from us, that's for sure. All right, now let's go all the way out to the left coast and hear from our buddy Alberto in L.A.
I'm going to try and make this short. It's Alberto from LA, by the way. I hate how people are saying fire Gruden, fire the coaching staff, get rid of some players, just get rid of the whole team. You know what I'm going to say to that? From now on until whenever? Fire Mark Davis. Because the matter of the fact is we have bad management. And management has killed this team. So Mark Davis' decision to fire Hugh Jackson after an 8-8 season, having a four-way tie in the division, from Mark Davis firing Jack Del Rio after one bad season, from Mark Davis doing countless things. We have bad management. And no sports teams can win championships with bad management. Example, Dodgers got Magic Johnson into World Series. They lost, but they were there. Yankees consistently have good management. The Patriots always had good management. Look at them, 2 decades straight, 5 Super Bowls, dominating the NFL, dominating the AFC East. Until we have good management, this is going to be the product on the field. It's real, though. Mark Davis does not know what he's doing. And I'm going to say fire Mark Davis until he's gone, because it's management that's been killed us. Because any coach can come in here and won't be able to do what they can do outside of the Raiders. But, yep, management sucks, and that's it.
All right. I hear you loud and clear, Alberto. But, unfortunately, I just talked about how the things that you can and can't control. Mark Davis is going to be your coach. Mark Davis is going to be your owner. John Davis. I can talk, Mosh.
Mark Davis is going to be your owner. John Gruden's going to be your coach. And Derek Carr is going to be your quarterback.
You've heard me say that before. Those three things are going to remain true for the however long. So, unfortunately, Alberto, that's not something that the Raiders are going to make a change at, nor is anybody else, because owners get evaluated on the success of their business, and the Raiders have added $1 billion in value since he's taken over. So, look, at Mark Davis isn't going anywhere anytime soon. And, just to draw reference back to what he said about them firing Hugh Jackson, look, a lot of people bring that up, Hugh Jackson's 8-8 season. But again, they leave out details.
Yep.
And after that season, after Al passed away, Hugh declared himself king of the Raiders and said, I'm going to have a stronger hand in this organization. I'm going to control this, and I'm going to control, for everything from personnel to play calling and blah, blah, blah. And that's why he got fired, because you don't declare yourself king of the Raiders unless your name is Davis.
True.
Right?
And he also brought up the Yankees. So how many times did the Yankees fire? How many times did Steinbrenner fire Billy Martin? How many times did this guy right here, Steinbrenner, and it's in his book, that's what I'm holding up for you on this podcast. Come on. So they were still winning. The Pinstripes were still taking those championships, but
you read that book, it's fascinating how similar George Steinbrenner and Al Davis were.
Yep.
It's fascinating how it works. A great point, Mosh. Absolutely. But I hear what he's saying, but that's where, that's where you're going to get the consistency. It's Robert Kraft, Bill Belichick, Tom Brady, right? The Rooneys, Mike Tomlin, Ben Roethlisberger, right? Like, it's a kind of a three-headed thing here. And so it's going to be our three guys here for the undefined future. All right, next up, we're going to hear from a new caller, Uncle Mosh, brand new to the show. And we're going to hear from our buddy Ed. He has a much longer name than that, but it was tough for me to, I think it's like Ed Dog, Marsh Dog, something like that.
Nice. Okay.
But he's in Tahoe, which is one of our favorite places in the whole
backyard,
world.
man.
Yeah.
Murf, Mosh, what's going on? This is first-time caller Ed Dog Marsh Dog, and I'm coming from the Tahoe 530, and I'm calling today to give you guys props, or I guess Mosh and your singing about that song that you guys did, and gotta say, it took all the things that I love about your podcast and put it in a song. So, good job, guys. I just got a couple of notes for the fans out there, and I want to start with, at this point of the season, we just got to embrace the suck. That's going to be my new phrase for the rest of the season, is embrace the suck. I was watching the game last night. I work Sundays, usually about 10 and a half hours on Sundays, so I never get to watch the Sunday games. So this Thursday, I'm like, oh, we got the toilet bowl. I'm psyched. I can actually watch a game for once. And so, I bought some beer and headed home after class, and, the 49ers just pooped on us in the toilet bowl. And it's really disappointing. I was hoping we were going to do the pooping, but that was just not the case. And, we just got to embrace the suck. All you can do at that point is laugh, because honestly, I heard somewhere that this is the worst defense in NFL history, or maybe just Raiders history. And so, you kind of just, hopefully we'll never see it again. So you just kind of got to laugh it off. And I don't know. It's pretty frustrating, but I'm at the point where I'm embracing the suck. And then the other thing is, one thing we've learned this season is if Derek Carr doesn't have a good line, then he's going to suck. And we don't have much depth at offensive line. I think the last time we drafted a guard was Gabe Jackson in 2014. Like, that's the only we've drafted all tackles since then. So just don't be surprised this draft if you see us invest into the offensive line early again, because if we want to be successful through Carr, then we're going to need protection and we're going to need depth. And so I just hope fans are ready for that. And I also think we should draft a quarterback relatively early, just to challenge Carr. He's been sitting pretty in that spot for since he was a rookie, basically. And, I think it's time for a challenge. Anyways, just keep it up, guys. I'm sure my 3 minutes is
Up was the last word he wanted.
Absolutely. So thank you, Ed, for the new call there. I appreciate that. So Uncle Mosh, that was pretty funny, huh? I'm sure my 3 minutes is, yeah. That was pretty, yeah. So, okay, so real quick, I see a lot of vitriol coming in about Hugh Jackson and they're in the chat, and rightfully so, because Hugh's a mess. Okay, so here's what I'm going to say, and we're going to get to Ed's call in a sec, but just to close out Hugh Jackson, where am I at here?
What are you trying to say, Murph? Hey, just embrace the suck, Murph.
Sorry, I was looking at something, and then my eyes danced, and I lost the spot. All right, here's the thing about Hugh Jackson as a head coach. In comparison to Bill Belichick would have to lose 1,070 football games in a row to fall to the same losing percentage as Hugh Jackson as a head coach. 1,000 football games in a row.
Wow.
That's amazing. But anyway, so, all right. So, but to get to his call here, he talked about the defense. He talked about how the defense was struggling. He said he thought that the defense might be the worst in the history of the NFL. Well, here's some stats. You come to Raiders Fan Radio for some stats. We love our numbers. We don't do math, but we love numbers. The Raiders are third worst in third down defense, with 49%. Second worst in scoring defense, 31 points per game. Worst in run defense, 144 yards per game. And worst in sacks with 7. The Raiders have also allowed the second most points as a franchise through 8 games and are tied for the second fewest in takeaways with 6 and have the fewest sacks with 7. So, yes, the defense is one of the worst in history.
Yes, so embrace the suck.
Embrace the suck.
Embrace the suck. Ed had it right. Ed touched my heart a little bit, you know, and he did, because he wasn't necessarily talking about, he gave us props on the Mosh song, the Uncle Mosh song, and that was cool, but he had another phrase.
Okay.
And it got me. It got me at home. It got me where I live.
All right.
When he said, and he clearly said, there was no ifs, ands, or buts. There was no controversy here. He clearly said, I was hoping we were going to do the pooping.
That's pretty good.
That was pretty
funny. That was pretty funny. So thank you to Ed up there in Tahoe. Uncle Mosh, did you know that we used to go to Tahoe a lot?
Yeah, all the
we lived
time.
Not far from there. Did I ever tell you I met Sammy Davis Jr.?
No kidding.
Did I tell you I was 10 years old. And at where Harrah's Casino and Harvey's Casino.
Right.
Underneath them is a tunnel.
Sure.
That runs underneath. I don't even remember what the street is there. It runs underneath
State Street, I think.
State Street. And so my dad and I were walking through the tunnel, and here came a guy. He had a big leather, cowboy, wide brim hat on, and an all leather suit, and he had it kind of pulled down, kind of hiding who he was. And my dad stopped and he goes, "Hey, Sammy." And Sammy turned around and he said, "Hey, what's up, man?" And I was like, we didn't hang out with him or nothing, but it was kind of cool. What's up with Sammy Davis Jr., man?
Wow.
In Tahoe. How cool is that, right?
That is crazy.
Yeah.
That's cool, man.
Yeah, pretty cool stuff.
Yeah.
All right.
Next up on Murph's Brush with Fame.
Yeah, Murph's with Fame. That's right. All right. Next up, let's hear from a good friend of the show, Monster Mash Ken.
Hey, Murph and Uncle Mosh. This is Monster Mash Ken. So I just got a couple of things to say. I don't really want to talk about the game too much. I think our season's pretty much done for, and it is what it is. Anyway, one thing is, as you guys are leaders, in the podcast world, and I know a lot of us enjoy listening to you, and you just give us such a great insight on the Raiders and the news. You don't, the news is news, and you're not trying to turn anybody's favor to John Gruden or Derek Carr. It is what it is. Yes, you guys are Derek Carr fans. You guys support John Gruden, whatever it is. My point is, I listened to the podcast with Mikey the other day, and that was really tough. It was really tough to get through. And I understand, everybody has their own opinions of the team and how it's ran, but let's not get it confused here. John Gruden, Al Davis, the Raider organization, they don't owe answers to any fans at all. They don't owe us anything. We are followers by choice. We are fans by choice. They don't need to explain why they did this or why they did that or whatever. John Gruden got paid millions to build this team as he sees fit, and he doesn't need to check with me, with Mikey Rader, with Uncle Mosh, with Lil Murf. Nobody. It's gonna be how he sees fit. And you know what? I'm in it with them. I'm gonna still be a fan. After John Gruden's fired, 10 years from now or whatever it happens. I don't know. And all I can do is support from my fandom. I can support them and just pray for the best. And I think that we're good days are ahead of us. Unfortunately, probably just not in Vegas. Another thing too, as a made man, and I know there's I think 12 or 13 of us. I'm not sure how many exactly. I want to just challenge everybody to get your guys' name out there. If you see a Raider fan wearing a shirt or a hat, just like at the supermarket or a store or whatever out and about, I've at least told like 3 or 4 people about you guys, just out in the New Jersey, New York area that I've ran into randomly, and I just want to support you guys because national media can suck a D. And you know what? They put a negative spin on us, and they're not going to get the real news from that you guys give out. Anyway, hopefully we can salvage this. Yeah, I'm not going to say salvage this season. We'll see what happens. All right, take care, guys. God bless.
All right, awesome call there from Monster Mash
He
Ken.
needs to be our new PR guy.
I know, right? So he just real quick. Appreciate that a lot.
Yep,
I just brought up the list. There are 18 made men.
Wow.
So Jimmy Z, Johnny in San Diego, Chuck McCann, Ron in Ohio, the Dakota Raider, Aaron Q-Dog Raider, Red in Yakima, Jim from the East Coast, Yayo, Big Raider Trucker, Wyoming Raider, Diego in Georgia, Running Bear, Mojo Raider, Junior in San Diego, Monster Mash Ken, Stephen Houston, and Alberto in LA. So thank you to all of you so much for being made men. Thank you so much for supporting Raiders Fan Radio. And despite all the social media stuff that we do, at the end of the day, the best way to help our podcast is to talk to Raiders fans about us. That's the word of mouth, man. There's still no replacement for that. So thank you, Ken, for saying that. We appreciate you for doing that. On to the topics a little bit. Sometimes as fans, I think, or even as people, we can feel like we're entitled to something. Like we're entitled to
know the game plan.
Yeah, and I don't. And like what Ken says, they don't owe us anything. The Raiders don't have to tell us. And John Gruden doesn't have to do anything. And the quicker that we can wrap our brains around that as fans, the easier it will be to consume this stuff because they're not going to tell you a lot. So don't have that sense of entitlement that they're necessarily going to tell you. And then, in terms of like, what are we rooting for as fans, right? Something that I saw during the game on Sunday night, the great game with Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers, right?
Mm-hmm.
Packers and Patriots, 2 Hall of Famers matching up against each other. And I mentioned a couple segments ago about how we as Raider fans, like you can kind of be fans of a lot of things around the Raiders and sometimes look to the past. And here's why. Like, here's a great example in relation to being a fan of the team. So, Uncle Mosh, they had a stat that came up during Sunday Night Football on the game about players, quarterbacks in particular, and what their records were matching up against other Hall of Fame quarterbacks.
Right.
And they had the winning percentage of each one. Well, the first one on the list is Otto Graham, and Otto Graham had a .818, so an 81% winning percentage against other Hall of Fame quarterbacks. And that's a really nice stat. And I think Otto Graham is very underrated in terms of the greatest ever discussion. But he was a pre-Super Bowl quarterback.
Sure.
The rest of the guys listed are all Super Bowl era
modern era
quarterbacks. You know who number 1 is?
Actually, go ahead. Tell him.
Kenny the Snake freaking Stabler,
yeah,
man.
Baby.
Number 1 at a .682 winning percentage, ahead of Bradshaw, ahead of Montana, and ahead of Steve Young. And then even cooler than that was their follow-up stat was of the 5 guys yet to be inducted but surefire Hall of Fame quarterbacks, Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, Drew Brees, Peyton Manning, and Ben Roethlisberger, their winning percentage versus other Hall of Fame quarterbacks, only Brady comes close with a .633 winning percentage. Stabler is still higher than all those guys. Uncle Mosh, that gives me chills.
I know.
And that's what being a Raider fan is all about.
Absolutely.
Right
and 2 of the guys 2 of those guys that you just mentioned, those 5 who will be Hall of Fame quarterbacks, are under 500. With Pepe and Big Ben are under 500 against other Hall of Fame quarterbacks.
So cool, man.
That's crazy, man.
Kenny's still relevant right now.
Absolutely.
So cool. So cool. Great stuff there.
Hey,
please.
Ken actually had a great comeback for DP's comment earlier. Dan Patrick was saying, well, then why didn't they tell us the game plan? Why don't they tell us this?
Yeah.
And he's saying they don't owe us that.
No,
they don't know us that. You're a Raider fan. Of course, he did make and I got to correct you on that, Ken. Raider fan by choice. Nah, it's a birthright.
yeah.
It's you may not realize it, but it's in your blood. It's in your blood somehow.
That's awesome. Awesome. Good stuff, Mosh. All right, let's see. We got one more call. You want to take any guesses in who it is?
Let me guess. Q-Dog.
That's it, Aaron, the Q-Dog Raider.
Greetings, Aaron. Q-Dog Raider coming to you from the east side. Mosh, Murf, salutations. How about that piece of crap that we had to witness last Thursday? I mean, it was corn versus peanut, the Battle of the Bay. Take 14, and all we had to do was seal the deal. But you know what? That game left me angry, confused, and unfulfilled. I'm telling you, I ain't felt that way since I sat through Star Wars, The Last Jedi. I mean, that absolutely was just atrocious. There was no heart, no pride, but I'm not going to waste my time on that. But speaking of time, how about me, calling the shot on Bruce Irvin and Amari Cooper? Hit list all-stars.
Yep.
Bye. See you. I tell you what. Irvin, he had the nerve to thank the fans after he unceremoniously quit in week 2. Man, burn all number 51 jerseys. Just burn on sight. Reggie Nelson, you're going to stay on the list. But as we move into 2019, we need to start looking towards new free agent talent. Young talent under 25. I'm talking about Deion Buchanan out of the Arizona Cardinals. He's only 25 years old. We need to look his way. I'm talking about, help on the edge. Bryce Callahan from the Bears. He's only 27. Tyler Eifert, we're going to have to probably replace our tight end and get him at another, shades of Ghost. We need to have somebody, that's going to be short-handed over the middle. He's only 27 coming out of Cincinnati. Clay Matthews, he's getting longer tooth, but he's only 31. Give him some run. Mm-hmm. Randall Cobb, he's only 27. We need short-handed wideouts. Jadeveon Clowney, okay, it's okay to dream. He's only 26. Ty Matthew, the Honey Badger, 27. Ty Yeldon, TJ Yeldon. I mean, he only makes $1.25 million. D Ford, I know he plays for the Chiefs, but he's only 28. Sheldon Richardson, we need help in the middle. He's only 28. Trey Flowers, maybe, D get to be had. He's coming out of New England. He's only 26. You know where I'm going with a lot of this. QBs, Carr may have to go. Reality needs to be faced. Teddy Bridgewater, he's only 26. Nick Foles lit us up for 7 touchdowns one time. He's only 29. Frank Clark, Earl Thomas, safety, 30. KJ Wright, linebacker, 30. Brian Arakpo. I mean, come on. Clinton Dix, he's only 26. Listen, shout out to Big Raider Trucker Emilio for those gifted shirts. Man, those things were outstanding, bruh. I wear a 4X, homie. Shout out to Wyoming Raider. We got to high-low his voice on that Bull Gerbil take. Love black. I'm out. Root.
Sizzler.
Sizzler.
Sizzler. Sizzler.
Sizzler.
Sizzler.
Wow, Q-Dog nailed it. And it was a tough crowd tonight. Q-Dog came in at the last second there and beat out Embrace the Suck. And and Monster Mash Ken, man, he was right there with him, guys.
Yeah.
He's shout out to another close one right in there was Ben's letter, for all the chubbers.
Yeah.
So good calls tonight, everybody. Steve, Diego, Alberto, great job. But the Sizzler Award, man, Q-Dog did his homework, had his stats, quick, concise, to the point, got it done. Good job. Our first Sizzler Award.
Award.
What does he need to do?
Yeah, he knows plenty how to get a hold of us. So Aaron and I know how to get a hold of him too. So Aaron, I will shoot you a code that when I get it from Jeff at deadpiratesports.com for a $25 gift card at Dead Pirate Sports. And remember to include that RFR 10 promo code in there and get another 10% off. So we will hook you up with that, my friend. And yes, great calls as always. And so a couple things. So real quick on Q-Dog there. Bruce Irvin, see you goodbye.
Yep.
Something fun here that I found this week. Javon Walker. Remember Javon Walker?
Oh, yeah.
Wide receiver for the Raiders. He earned $15 million from the Raiders for 15 career receptions with the team.
Wow.
Cornerback D'Angelo Hall, $8 million for 8 games with the Raiders. And now Bruce Irvin has earned $8 million this year for 8 games with the Raiders. So Bruce Irvin, unfortunately, falls in line, a long line of bad contracts for the Raiders. And then one last thing I do want to say about Q-Dog's call. He did a great job of throwing out a lot of free agents and a lot of guys that can the Raiders can look forward to adding to the roster. And there's a guy that he's been hitting me with here for the past few weeks, and he's talking about Josh Allen, who's an outside defensive end linebacker type player for the University of Kentucky. Now I know that was Aaron's school, so I was thinking he might have been a little bit of a homer, saying like want to promote his guy, and as we all would do. And then I watched Kentucky play Georgia this week. He's right. Josh Allen is legit.
The guy is legit for sure.
He is legit. So I'm with you, Q-Dog. I am kind of all in on Josh Allen, except for this week when they play MTSU, when our Blue Raiders are going to beat them. But outside of that, I'm all about Josh Allen. Great job.
We are Metallica, and we are here for your Oakland Raiders!
You know why we out here, and we ain't playing around today.
From The Walking Dead to errant Jedi Knights, Raiders fans are a rogues gallery.
It's like George.
Yeah. G-E-O-R-G-E-O-R-G-E-O-R-G. Yeah, can't stop spelling George. All right, Uncle Mosh. This is it. We got one segment left before we get out of here for the night. Appreciate everybody hanging in there. Let's do one last respect through the chat room. Adam Hill, Q-Dog, John L. Davis, Stackanova, Pedro, Raider Vic, Chad Reeder. I can't scroll up and see everybody. Ron's still in there. Thank you all very much for supporting Raiders Fan Radio. Raiders Smiley, thank you for being in here in the chat and
respect.
supporting what we do. All right, so Q-Dog mentioned Wyoming Raiders call last week in his reference to the bold gerbil, which was amazing. Also in that call, he threw out a request, Mosh.
Yeah, he did.
And he said, can we get that Scottish cat and the tailgating too much segment? And so...
Bringing back tailgating.
Bringing back tailgating too much, and wish granted. So this week, I took a portion of Kev's interview that we did. Kev from Scotland, from Silver and Black UK. I took Kev's interview, and I took the first part of it, put it through the software of Tailgating Too Much. And what that does is that it turns out someone that sounds like they've been drinking a little bit. And so to honor the request here, we're taking requests here on the request line, Raiders Fan Radio. And here we go. Here's Kev when he's been tailgating too much.
Well, it all started back in the mid-1980s. I was 10 years old. 1985, when UK television first ever broadcast a live Super Bowl. From that moment, I was hooked on the game, and there was a weekly highlight show. And I saw the Raiders. The thing that I saw about the Raiders was Marcus Allen, the Super Bowl run against the Redskins from 1983. And that was it.
I'll bet he really does sound like that after a few.
Oh yeah. Get him a few Guinness and Boddingtons or Murphy's Irish Stout or whatever it is that you drink, and yeah. Pretty good stuff there. So Kev, I'm assuming Kev will be a good sport because he was in the chat last week when Wyoming Raider made that request, and he was like, "Hey, that's me."
Yeah.
So I hope you understand. We're just poking a little bit of fun and having a good time with it. Yeah, very funny. That was great. That was great. Great suggestion by Wyoming Raider, and thank you to Kev for being a good sport in advance, letting us talk about that. All right, Uncle Mosh. So this week, one last. Here we go. There's a fun stat for you, Raider Nation. What this week we got the Chargers, the San Diego Chargers, listen to me, the Los Angeles Chargers. There's San Diego. We got the San Diego Chargers coming up this week, and Phillip Rivers, the quarterback who we can't stand.
That's it. That was the last time you were going to say that name.
I shouldn't have just said his name.
No.
I'm going to cut that from the
Please
text.
do.
When I edit the show. Okay, so that quarterback and the last 3 games versus the Raiders. Now, by my count, John Gruden has only coached one of those.
Correct.
So those of you that want to blame everything on John Gruden, remember this stat line. Last 3 games versus the Raiders, I didn't say the last name. That guy is 75 for 100 for 994 yards, 6 touchdowns, no interceptions, and a quarterback rating of 126.
Wow.
Ow. So it's going to probably be a long day, Raider Nation. I would love to give you 3 reasons why the Raiders are going to win this football game. Man, it's just going to be a tough watch. So let's just go into it, assuming that, and then we will, we'll just kind of do the best we can with it. Mosh, what do you think?
It doesn't matter what I think.
Ay, caramba.
It doesn't matter at all what I think. It doesn't matter about that game. And let me tell you. So who's one of our all-time favorites in the whole world? Dwayne Johnson.
The Rock, sure.
The Rock.
Well,
and he used to say that all the time.
Yeah.
He used to say, it doesn't matter about that guy.
Yes.
It doesn't matter
doesn't
about
matter what your name
San
is.
Diego or L.A. or wherever your stupid Charger uniform hangs. It doesn't matter. But Rock didn't start that.
No.
Rock didn't start that. It just doesn't matter stuff. I want you to know that Raiders Fan Radio was there for the original It Doesn't Matter.
That's right.
Actually, it just doesn't matter.
It just doesn't matter. And, so you're right. I had to dig through the archives a little bit, but we found it. A good friend of the show, Bill Murray, was the one that originally coined that phrase. Yep. It just doesn't matter. Yep. And basically his point was what you've heard me say a few times tonight, Raider Nation. If you divest your fandom, then the product on the field just doesn't matter.
Exactly.
Sure, Mohawk has beaten us 12 years in a row. Sure, they're terrific athletes. But it doesn't matter. Do you know that they use the most sophisticated training methods from the Soviet Union, East and West Germany, and the newest Olympic power, Trinidad Tobago? But it doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter. I tell you, it just doesn't matter. 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 Even if we play so far over our heads that our noses bleed for a week to 10 days, even if God in heaven above comes down and points his hand at our side of the field, even if every man, woman, and child held hands together and prayed for us to win, it just wouldn't matter. It just doesn't matter if we win or we lose. It just doesn't matter. 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 It just doesn't matter.
I want to know how much of that was improv. How much was that?
I'm sure most of all of it was. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Now, I say all that, and we play that, and we joke. Of course it matters, and of course we want to see our team win. But I think what we could pull from that, Uncle Mosh, perspective.
Embrace the suck.
Embrace the suck. Oh, my gosh. All right, Uncle Mosh, let's get out of here for tonight. Thank you for all of you listening and supporting Raiders Fan Radio, episode number 102. We are going to have a lot of exciting stuff coming up. We got the interview series with Randy Hansen.
Yep.
I've just named it that. It's going to be, I can call it the Hansen tapes.
Nice.
The Hansen tapes.
The Hansen tapes.
We'll release those here over the next week. Yeah, over the next week we'll release. We're gonna do 3 episodes of that, of the Hansen tapes. Fascinating stuff, guys. You're gonna love listening to it. And regardless of how you feel about him and that situation, I promise you it is a fascinating listen. And from one Raider fan to another, you will enjoy it. And then also we got some other fun interviews coming up. I can't talk a lot about, I can't give specifics because I want to wait till we get things booked. But we have some prominent musicians that are also Raiders fans. One musician that's a fan of another team that the Raiders getting ready to play.
Yep.
He's agreed to come on the show. So we're going to have some fun perspective, some fun fandom talk. And again, we're just going to try to keep it as light as we can. We want to keep it accurate, and we want to keep it, grounded in what the reality of the Raiders are, but we want to have as much fun as we can
Murf.
doing it. We don't want to just get on here and just cry the blues every
Hey,
show. No one wants to listen to us do that.
Like Florida Raiders said before he called us all chum, he said, we're keeping things bright when things look dark.
There you go.
We're keeping it bright when things look dark.
That's it. Absolutely. So the lighter side of fandom, for fans of the dark side, right?
Absolutely.
That's us. So thank you again to all of you. Can't appreciate you guys enough. Please like and subscribe to the show. Facebook, you can find us all over the place, but certainly Apple Podcasts, subscribe to us there, please. Download the app if you're an Android user, and then hit us up on the YouTube, youtube.com/subscribe. Murf's Fan Cave. Subscribe there, and thank you to all of those of you that have already done it, and to those of you for the next one. Uncle Mosh, hit us with a tagline. Let's get on out of here.
What happens in Vegas started in Oakland.
Thanks, guys.